Yeah, I don't like the countdown thing.
I had had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in
Oh
the middle
yeah,
of
that's
nowhere?
what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really ticked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out the reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, he commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing, especially without Vaseline or anything like that, Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, "Any last wish before you die?" Yo, reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, "Fill your claw, you son of a bitch." Now a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no lip to Six Gun Joe.
What's out there? What creates the shadows in the corners or the creatures of the dark? Who are those on the other side? What do they have to say? This is the Gateway Podcast. This is not your normal style of paranormal talk radio. Brought to you live from United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM New Orleans.
Hey, hello everybody, and welcome to the Sunday night edition of Into the Night with me, your host, Sean Kelly, and my co-host, as always, every other Sunday, Miss CL Thomas. Hi, CL, how are you?
Hello.
We are located on UPRN Talk Radio, 105.3 Mississippi, 107.7 New Orleans. And check this out, ladies and gents, we're both from the same city, the city of Pittsburgh. Yes. So, I'm just excited to have her on. I see everybody coming in. Kevin's here. That girl, hi everybody. Heidi, hi. Sparky, hi. Kurt, hi. Let's see who else. If I miss it, that girl, hi. Got the coffee ready. Let's see. Hey, Heidi. Hello, Sean and CL. Much love from Boulder. Thank you, dear. Thank you very much. Okay, we've got a lot of comments going on. So how you been, Miss CL? Oh,
I'm doing good.
Kurt
How
said,
you been?
I'm doing great. Couldn't be better. It's supposed to cool down a little bit here in Keystone State in western Pennsylvania. Question to ask you before we move on, and I always bring this up to people who are from Pittsburgh or kind of like know a little bit of history. Do you think that Pittsburgh is the gateway to the Midwest?
I'm going to say no. I think
Okay.
originally it was, but I think St. Louis became that gateway afterwards. Pittsburgh, however, it was like a main transportation line between all the major railroads were started out of Pittsburgh to transport goods up and down. And because of the three rivers that met there, it was a big transportation city back in its day. But as far as going west, I just don't think so. I think it would have been more Tennessee, St. Louis, those places. I could be wrong. I'd be interested to know what other people think.
Yeah, okay. So Heidi says definitely St. Louis. It even has the arch. Hey, Tara, good to see you, hon. Thank you for stopping in tonight. Good to see you. Let's see. That's cool. I think it is, to be honest with you. I think there's, Murraysville, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So if you go out that way, Altoona was third on Hitler's bombing list for the railroad. Interesting, Kurt. That's interesting.
Pittsburgh was a big player for steel and iron throughout history.
Believe it or not, too. Now, Pittsburgh is a target because all the hospitals we have over in Oakland, and there's a lot of hospitals there. But so tonight, we got an interesting show for you tonight. We are going to talk about mediums, and we're going to be talking about a famous medium. And when we get to that, CL, she does all the reading. I got my little stuff here, but we're going to talk about it. So, a medium, in the context of the paranormal, a medium is someone who claims to be able to communicate with spirits of the deceased or other entities from the spiritual realm. They act as a bridge between the living and the dead, often relaying messages or providing evidence of the continued existence of those who have passed. This practice is known as mediumship. Here's more detailed explanation. And everybody, here's the deal, dude. Hey, Mark Eddy, everybody, AI is doing this for me. So, AI ain't that bad. I don't think. They should have had this when we were young at school. What mediums do: communicate with spirits. Mediums report being able to perceive, hear, or feel the presence of spirits and relay messages from them to living individuals. It says provide evidence of survival. Many mediums aim to offer proof that consciousness survives physical death by providing specific details about the deceased that would be known only to close family or friends. And there are different types of mediumships. There are various forms of mediumships, including mental mediumship, where the medium communicates while fully conscious, and trance mediumship, where the medium enters a trance-like state. Okay, but I do want to read this part, and then we're going to get into it. Okay, the distinction from psychics, right? Well, both mediums and psychics claim to have special abilities to perceive information. A key difference is that mediums focus on communication with the deceased, while psychics may focus on other areas such as predicting the future or identifying hidden information about living people. It is often said that while all mediums are psychic, not all psychics are mediums. I find that very, very interesting. Very interesting, that little quote there. So, what's your deal with mediums there, Miss Hill?
Well, I've done a spirit art reading in Lilydale. And so I started getting interested in a little bit the spiritualism movement and kind of the history of where all of this started. Okay. And, mediumship goes back centuries, all the way back into biblical times, but it wasn't until around the Victorian age and on into the Edwardian age that it really took off. Like you had the spiritualist church that started, you had, it became like you have to remember they didn't have television back then. So it was kind of like a form of entertainment. This is what they would do. They would have seances in parlors and things. Okay. And that kind of transmuted over time into, they were using that to connect with the spirit world, to find answers to the situations they were in, particular particularly around the Civil War.
Okay.
So that's where you really see a lot of it stir up.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I did not know that. That would have been crazy. But um, I'm not on the fence about mediums. They are there, and there are a lot of good mediums out there that really do a lot for their practice. Okay, as I know, a lot of psychics are the same way. But um, in my travels with the spiritual uh, stuff like that, I have come across some really terrible mediums, and all they do is try to make money on it. And also psychics too at that. You know, I'll be the first one to tell everybody out there, I hate the word psychic. I like the word seer. See, to me, a psychic, use that word, it's just advertising yourself. I don't like that. Um, to me, I feel a little bit more humble when I call myself a seer, you know. But what are your feelings on, the people who try um, to make a living out of it and not be that good?
Whew, that could be a whole show on its own.
We can do that one day.
Unfortunately, you had that even back a century ago. When you talk about um, the history of spiritualism, one of the main characters in that was the Fox sisters, who supposedly in the dark they would have a painting upward, right? Or
Hmm.
what's the word for it? There's a word, precipitate, in front of their audience. And basically, what they were doing, they were making noises and all this stuff in a dark parlor. They would invite like 10 people over. Everybody would have to pay a fee to get in. And they would all sit around. And then all of a sudden, you would hear knocking at night or in the dark, and nobody could see them. And, apparently they were faking a lot of their evidence.
Right.
However, they're inscribed in history for spiritualism because they kind of open that door for
Hmm.
discussion, um, for spiritualism to be discussed, I guess.
Okay.
Kind of
Well,
like
that's good.
kind of like ghosts, like the TV shows for paranormal.
Yes, taps.
Open that door to have these kind of discussions and realize, yeah, there are some truth to some of the stuff out there, but
Right.
maybe not necessarily in entertainment.
Okay. Patrick, my brother. Hey, Patrick, good to see you. Thanks for popping in. Kurt, if there's a range from good to bad, let's say left to right, there has to be an up and down scale on the ability. Some have more than others, and that's true. Um, and Sparky agrees with Kurt. But like I was going to say, back in what 2005, 2004, um, it when taps came on, okay, when they first started. I have noticed when I started PPS in 2006, okay, people started to open up and start talking about their experiences that they were having because at the time, um, before that, people were afraid to talk about it because
Hmm.
you know as well as I do, they would send them to a mental hospital if they talked about seeing ghosts. It's sad. I don't Dixmont. You remember Dixmont Mental
No.
Hospital? Okay, Dixmont was a mental hospital. It's torn down now, and they did lobotomies and all kinds of shit there. They really screwed with people's minds. But a mental hospital at that time, okay. Hey Sherry, um, at that time, if somebody didn't like somebody, they would throw them in a mental hospital at the time. You know what I mean? So think about it. There are people who were gifted that were able to see spirit. You know what I mean? Be able to do that stuff, and then all of a sudden they just throw them in a mental hospital and did ungodly things to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but when TAPS came out in 2004, 2005, that kind of opened up the door, and that I was kind of happy because I know for a fact when I first started, hon, it wasn't so much the investigating, it was actually talking to the people about what was going on in
Right.
their
Yeah,
house.
it was so
Yeah,
different in the beginning.
yes, absolutely. And now, and now, with all, well, we know how you feel about paranormal and the paranormal world, and that it just, it lost its, how can I say, give me a good word here. It lost its luster, okay, on, you know, hey, Michelle, good to see you, hon. And it lost its luster, and it's not like what it was when I first started. We
It's
were out to
totally
help people,
changed.
and
It's
not no
so
more.
totally changed. You're exactly right. I remember the first season of Ghost. I always get the shows confused. Ghost Hunters is the one where they said they were plumbers, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Turns out that whole deal was fake too, but that's a different story for another time. Um, they were the way they portrayed that show was right on the mark, where they would go to the people's house and do, the private investigations for somebody's home to help somebody. Now, you don't, these TV shows, all they do is they circuit the same locations over and over again.
hmm
It's completely different. It's all, it was entertainment before, but now it's really just straight entertainment. There's really no truth to it much
right.
more.
Now back to the mediumships. I don't know. You know who John Edwards is, right?
I
You
do.
know, okay, the Long Island medium and all that. Well, John Edwards, he got busted. All right. Um, and what with him was, okay, they would make people fill out a questionnaire. Okay. And they would tell them where to sit in the audience, so they could build off that. And that kind of like pissed me off a little bit. Um, so when it comes to the mediumships, especially in the paranormal field, they can be very, very helpful. Um, but they people need to realize, okay, that there are people who have gifts like that too in the group, and they
Hmm.
can find out if you're a poser or not. Have you ever gotten a medium reading?
I have by a couple of famous ones too,
Okay.
nonetheless. Yeah. And unfortunately, the TV people that I've had the readings from, yeah, no, you kind of learn whenever, I've been trained in mediumship through a couple of people from Lilydale, and they're kind of hard to train under because they're very specific about what you can and can't do. And they'll sit you in these circles to where you do these individual practice circles, I guess is what it's called. They sit you with one on one and you have to practice.
Yeah.
You have to get so many hits within those practices to be considered true or, have actual abilities. It's pretty hard.
Right.
And one medium that I went to, he was a lot of money. He's a TV guy. He does spirit art. And I'm not going to say any names or anything, but the way he did it, he kind of leads you. Like he'll say something like, I'm getting a male or female. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't tell you exactly, like he leads you into the answers. And the
Exactly.
other thing he does is there's nothing evidential about it. It's more after leading you, he comes to his own conclusion. And if he can't, he'll automatically say, "Oh, it's a spirit guide."
Right.
You know,
Oh.
so there's no
hmm
evidential side at all to whatever he's saying.
Right. Now, for me, when I would do readings, okay, it wasn't, hey, Joe Fox, good to see you, buddy. Beauty before age, brother. You know that, right? Beauty before age. You get that, CL? Beauty before age. That
No,
was
I didn't
Joe.
see that.
No, Joe Fox said that. Sherry's, some are, Heidi says some are amazing storytellers. Sherry Madigan says, hey, Sherry, good to see you, hon. You have to get a medium with integrity. Yes. As a
Yeah.
medium myself, I would never make anything up. I give what I get. You have to have evidence. Thank you, Sherry.
Thanks.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's so true.
Thank you. That is so true. And I've seen, and I've worked at psychic fairs, some people from Lilydale and all that. And I don't know. I trust what I feel when I'm around people who do readings of such like that. And I had a couple bad dealings with the people from Lilydale. Real quick before we get into our first break here coming up, don't forget, guys, ladies and gents, I'm allowed to go over an extra half hour. At the beginning of September, okay, we're going to have the brothers on. And they're going to come on at 9 o'clock, 9:10. So I won't be able to do an hour and a half no more, but that's okay. But what was I going to say?
I think you would lead us into a break, maybe?
Oh, yeah, in about 10 minutes. About 5. Oh, we'll go on a break now. Okay, everybody, we're going to go do our quick break. You can catch Miss C.L. Thomas on Tuesday nights, 9, is it 9:10 or 9:15?
15. I always try to say 10, though, just because there's that little window, right there. So.
Brothers? I guess I'm out of the loop on that. What are we talking about, Heidi? Brothers. My brother Patrick's in the thing. Brothers. Okay. That's interesting. But that's okay. We're going to go on our break. Go smoke a cigarette, do what you got to do. And we shall return in about 2-3 minutes. Okay, everybody? And who should we play first? We'll play your ad first.
Are you ready to explore the unknown? Dive into the world of the strange, mysterious, and unexplained with Eerie Expeditions magazine. Each issue is packed with spine-tingling tales, cutting-edge paranormal investigations, and exclusive insights into hauntings, cryptids, UFOs, and more. Whether you're a seasoned investigator or just love a good ghost story, Eerie Expeditions magazine has something for you. Join our growing community of truth seekers and adventure lovers. Subscribe today at EerieExpeditionsMagazine.com and unlock the secrets of the supernatural. Are you ready? That's EerieExpeditionsMagazine.com, where the extraordinary is just a click away.
Oop, come on.
The Church of Mavis Radio Show, Friday nights at 8 p.m., 7 Central, starring Jeffrey Pritchett with his co-hosts Wham and Jay McNicholas, right here on the United Paranormal Radio Network, UPRN 107.7 FM, New Orleans.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is the Sunday night edition of Into the Night with me, your host, Sean Kelly. And it's her Sunday to pop on the show. My co-host, Miss C.L. Thomas, who you can actually find on Tuesday nights, 9:15 on UPRN Talk Radio. Thank you, Batgirl. Right after my show. Okay. So like I tell everybody, after my show, just click the link. Okay. Click the link and go over and give her some love. You know what I mean? Give her some love. And listen. She had it. Okay. For the record, Sunshine, I got something to ask you.
Uh-oh.
How do you pronounce that guy's name?
What guy?
Thank you, Joe. Your guest from last week. Thank you, Heidi. What was his name? How did you pronounce it? I was like really destroying his name, and I felt really bad.
It's pronounced Deka.
Deka. Okay.
Yeah, the R is silent, so it's Deka.
Deka. Okay, now see, you know I'm from Pittsburgh, right? I got that Daka. That's the way I was pronouncing it. Okay. Joe Fox says that he loves Sunday nights with us. That's cool. That girl, we got the coffee ready yet, hon? You're gonna need some. We got a good show tonight. But back to the mediums, okay? So, of course, I had to call CL past week, and I asked her, well, what do you want to do a show on? And she was telling me that she was reading a book on, what's her name again?
Nettie Colbourn.
Yeah, Nettie Colbourn. And she did readings for Mary Todd Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's wife. And she's been reading the girls' book. And we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about it. So, CL, the floor is yours. Thank you, that girl.
It's so fascinating. I don't even know where to start. So, I guess there's two parts to it, I guess. There's the story of the Lincolns, and then there's the story of this Nettie Colbourn. So I guess, in Victorian age, you have to realize they didn't have great medicine, which is so bizarre that medicine's only advanced within the last 50 years or so in all of humanity. That's really significant. So if you were to catch a common cold or any of those things, chances are very high that you could have died from those things. So Nettie comes down with, I think it was strep throat or something like that, where you needed antibiotics to cure. She didn't die, luckily. A lot of people did die back in those days. But she says that when she was healed, she was seeing, ghosts and things like that in her room. So she got gifts as a medium from that episode of being sick, which is really interesting because a lot of people claim that in that time period. So this would have been probably like 1840s, 1850s.
Okay.
And so she goes on, this is in New York, she goes on to start doing private readings for people because that's what you did back then. You had seances, there was a lot of death, like I said. If you got a common cold, chances are pretty high that you would have died from it if you needed antibiotics or anything like that. And then you have the side of Mary Todd and Lincoln. They had 3 children who they all died before they were adults. They were surrounded by a whole lot of death, particularly Mary Todd was surrounded with a lot of death back in that day. And I'm sorry about my cat here. And then Lincoln gets into the White House and guess what's happening? The Civil War. So there's all this stirring the pot with the Civil War. And all of a sudden, Nettie, who's in New York, she gets a vision that the Civil War is going to start and it's going to last for 4 years. And it's going to take another couple of years after the war to actually get the country fixed. How does someone her age know that without a proper education? Women were not educated back then. She's from a well-to-do family. She would not have had any education at all to have known any of this stuff. So what happens is she has a brother who is in the Civil War. He signs up and he's in it. He gets sick, and she wants to go and try to get her brother out of the army. On a what do you call it when someone in the army has a break?
Oh,
for it.
I don't know.
Forlow or whatever it is. But before this, she's in one of her seance circles, and she comes out after saying, it's going to last 4 years, and she starts saying that she has messages for President Lincoln. Well, she wants to figure out how. Well, her family starts saying, "Well, how do we get her in to speak with, the president?" Oh, well, she has a brother down there who is sick nonetheless. And he's going to speak at the camp that her brother is stationed at, of all things. So she goes into that camp, and she petitions to get her brother out for a little while until he gets better, and that doesn't work. So what does she do? She starts having seances on the premises. Well, Mary Todd is there, and she goes to these seances, and she's just captivated by it. So she starts inviting this Nettie into the White House to have seances on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
By this point, I think Mary Todd is already a member of the Spiritualist Church. And so there you go. She's trying to contact, particularly after her favorite son dies, Tad. She really delves deep into the Spiritualist religion. Because by then it's a church, it's a religion. And she's trying to contact her son. It's just a very interesting story.
Okay.
But there's a story, we don't know, we can't confirm this because it's not in any writings, how much information was dealt to Abraham Lincoln. We do know that he did sit in those seances, and she was counseling him at some point while she was at the camp and while she was at the White House. But to what extent that was all said, we don't know.
Was there anybody? Oh, Mr. Wojo, good to see you, brother. Was there anybody there, trying to frame her or say she wasn't doing her job right, or it was all a farce, anything like that?
Not back then. They wouldn't have done that back then. Well, I guess they would have, but not the way we do now. They didn't have social media. Everybody was you have to understand, like, the spiritualism and mediumship was at the height of its time. Everybody believed in it. It was kind of like going to a regular church. It was ingrained in everybody. But you have to look at it from this standpoint. The simple cold, most people's kids didn't live past age 10. If they did, they were doing really good. If you notice, they all had a lot of kids. It's because most of them didn't survive. On top of that, you had the Civil War raging, which lasted years. That was devastating the country at that time. So between those things, people were it's kind of like after COVID, how we saw the big, it was a big uptick in not spiritualism, but metaphysics. If you noticed, for a while there, everybody was kind of looking for answers. They were delving into mediumship, and self-help books were really big. Kind of the same thing, except for without internet.
Oh man, that would have been great. Or AI now, like I said.
Yeah, our television. They didn't have radio back then.
But it's her story sounded interesting. When you brought it up, I was like, yeah, why not? And I read a little bit. When it comes to reading, CL, I cannot. I got ADHD. Okay. I'll read 2 pages, go to the middle, read 2 pages out of the middle, and read like the last chapter in the book and miss everything in the middle. But I find it interesting that Mary Todd Lincoln, right, even allowed her to go into the White House, especially during the Civil War, because at that time, you don't know who was a spy or, unless she trusted this girl, she must have been a very good medium or a very good likable person to allow that to happen, for Mary to allow that to happen.
Well, she became somewhat of a celebrity of her time. Nettie did. So she was traveling around giving seances, and she was actually speaking, of all things, on mediumship and on different topics that she would have not known anything about. So that's what made her so special of her day, is you had these older men standing around going, wait a minute, she's uneducated. She's from an aristocratic family. She shouldn't have been educated. So how does she know all of this stuff? If she's not getting it from the spirit world, there's no way she could have known it. So that's what made her popular in her day.
Now, they did seances. Now, I didn't watch no video on seances where they did it back then, but you look at how people perform seances today than back then. Why is it that, you know, people like it's like against religion? It's like you're calling the devil on the seance here, right? You know what I mean? But back then they didn't even think about it. You know what I mean? Do you understand where I'm coming with that question?
Kinda. Do you mean like from the religious standpoint? People are saying that it's demonic or something?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, if you know what you're doing in the metaphysical world, then hey, miss, good to see you, hon. But I feel that back then, when Nettie was alive and doing her seances back then, people were fascinated, yes. But in today's world, people who do, seances are considered demonic.
Mm-hmm.
Is that cause of religion?
I think it's because of both. It's because of the internet for one. We can travel a lot faster. We get our information a lot faster. So if I don't like what you're doing, it's easier for me to say something online and get a crowd behind it than it was back then. Okay. Back then you had to resort to like letters, and it was just different back then. You didn't have a radio to pronounce your dislikes to anyone. But as far as like that religious group, I believe they were always there. When you look at groups like the Puritans in the Northeast, and there's another group too that was very religious like that. I can't remember their names. They weren't as bad as the Puritans, but they were pretty bad too. And then you have the Baptists, the Southern Baptists. They don't like anything, and they're taking all that context from one scripture that says it's better for a witch to be dead. I forget what that scripture actually says. There's a scripture in the Bible about it, though.
I have to look that up. Well, Sherry says she's been at 4 seances, and they were amazing and full of love. Awesome, Sheriff. That's great. Glad to hear that. I have nothing on seances at all, dude. I really don't. I think they're like pretty cool. It's the Ouija board I have a problem with, but I do know people that are close to me that do use the Ouija board, and nothing has happened to them. So basically, it comes down to you need to know what you're doing when it comes to the board. You know what I mean? And to me, it just gives me a bad taste in my mouth. And people know that when I share my opinions, it's my opinions. I don't talk for nobody because it's not my right to, speak up for other people unless you're hurting them, and then I can speak up and help them out. But this is a very interesting topic, and the reason being is not too many podcasts out there actually talk about mediumship.
Yeah, you're right. They don't. Mm-hmm. Now I have a board, and it's actually, I don't know if you can see it. I have 2 of them. So one of them up there is from the 60s, and the other one, it's in the box, which I don't ever use it. And then the other one my friend made, and it's like a Halloween thing.
Okay.
I used to have really big Halloween parties when I lived in Nashville, and somebody had made that for me for that. But that one in the box, I have to admit that's a really old board that somebody had given me, and it's from the late 60s. And it's very well worn. So if you could think of, that's what they did in the 60s and 70s. You know, they
Oh yeah.
you know, it was sold at Kmart. So you would,
Yeah.
they would bring this thing
Toys
home.
R Us. Toys
Yeah.
R Us.
Whole families, that's what they would do in the evenings. And, they get that from the old Victorian parlor games where they would sit around and they would do like table tipping. They would do, they would have a medium do the seance in a room. It was like an entertainment thing for them.
That's crazy, man. Okay, Sherry says, I've heard that scripture phrase had been changed at one of those NICIAN things to witch. I don't think it was always witch. I don't know what that word is.
It's very possible. I believe that too, because
Sherry says she's always been afraid of the board. Yeah. I don't like the board. And I had a friend, I don't think Patrick's in the room though, but I got to tell you, some people heard the story. I don't think I ever told you the story about the Ouija board. There was a girl in my group that at her house, she had like a very old Ouija board. Old, okay. And I said, bury it. I did. I said, bury it. And I said, I just got some really negative energy from that thing, And so I told her what to do. I said, get a box, put it in the box, throw some sea salt on it, on top of the board, tape it, the box down, and then dig a hole, because they had a real old oak tree out in their backyard. Okay. And I said, take that box and bury it right by the old oak tree. Okay. And she did. Okay. And I remember it was September she did that, but October when the leaves started to fall, right? Where she buried that box, and this is true, where she buried that box, you figured there would be leaves all over the place, right? Nope.
really,
Where they buried that box, it was free of leaves. No leaves touched that area. No shit, really. And then when it snowed, and it was snowing hard that day, and she sends me a text message at 8 a.m. saying, look at this. Everywhere around that little area where she built that thing had a lot of snow. But that area where she buried that box had no snow at all on it.
Interesting.
Yeah, crazy. And then my brother, he actually went over there in October, okay, and he actually kicked leaves over this place, right? So I get another text message the next morning. Here, all those leaves just in that area were knocked off where that box was located.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was. I'm telling you, it was an interesting thing. But that's my deal on the Ouija board.
Well, that one that's sitting up here, that one, I would never consider using that one. That one's got a very strange energy to it. It's definitely not a toy in my book. That one sits up there. It stays up there. That one's not for use at all. And it's got a really, it's hard to explain. It's just got a icky feeling to that one for whatever reason. The other one is just, that Halloween one my friend made, it's just a board. There's really nothing to it.
Okay.
I wouldn't even consider that really a real Ouija board.
Okay. They're scary, man. The one my friend had, right? The one I had, okay, it was scary. It had really negative energy. Okay, let's see what Vecro has to say. In that case, I'll bury some all around my place. Okay. I'll be the only one not snowed in. That's cute. That's cute, Vecro. That's cute.
Have you heard the story about the guy who actually invented that board and sent it in to be published with the Toy Factory?
No. Can you share it, please?
Yeah, I think his name was William Ford, if I'm not mistaken. Before I lie to you, I need to look it up. But I think the story is he sold it to the gaming company who printed it. But then this guy, he ends up going mentally crazy and he kills himself. He jumps off the roof of the toy factory.
Oh, really? Oh, wow, that's craziness.
I
But
think that's what I heard right. Let me before I get to
but
lying to you, let me look it up real quick.
you come on, Milton Bradley. Yeah, that's who made. Is it Milton? Joe's right. Milton Bradley. They're the one
Is that who it is?
Yeah, Milton Bradley. Um, but to put that in, how could they even think of that as a polar gun? I guess people didn't really realize that they could actually communicate, with spirit. And
The
you know,
guy's name is it's William Fuld, Fuld. He died
okay,
in 1927 from falling off the roof of his factory.
after he
He's the
told the
one,
board,
yeah, after he patented the Ouija board.
everybody out in my chat room tonight, all my guardian angels, what do you guys think of the Ouija board? First question. And second question, what do you think of mediums? And the mediums that are on TV. Now we know that my dear friend is on there, and she's a medium, so she can answer if she wants to. But I don't know. But if a game could do that, then so could a tarot deck, so could a pendulum, so could automatic writing. Okay, how do you protect yourself when you do spiritual art for somebody? May I ask?
It's different for me because I'm not contacting spirits, so to speak. I'm contacting your loved ones.
Okay.
So it's a little different. So if I were to sit with you, um, I would sketch the spirits that came through, and it would be someone you knew.
Okay.
And there would be evidence of that. So I'm not one to base it off of angels and spirit guides and things like that. If I have a reading with you and you can't connect with whatever spirit I bring forth or you don't recognize it, it's thrown out. And I give you your
Okay.
money back.
Okay.
So that's how I work. It's very evidential. You'll always be able to recognize who it is. So
Okay.
I'm not just picking up random spirits. Whereas I could see where you're going with this though, because in the entertainment world, that's what they do. They'll say if you can't recognize the spirit, they're automatically saying, "Oh, I don't know, it's your spirit guide. It's this. It's a Native American from the 17th century. He's your spirit guide." They don't know who they're connecting with.
Right. Exactly. I agree. Sherry says I know some really good mediums. A lot of the mediums on TV are just for show. Still another to the Ouija board. Yes. Um, I just have a hard time. It's not that I ask you that question, how to protect yourself, is that I care for you a lot. Okay. And I have seen people get really screwed up, doing scribing and doing artwork. I just want to make sure you're okay. You know what I mean? I don't want no demons to come in on you. Oh, Joe Fox said the name Ouija is a trademark of Hasbro, inherited from Parker Brothers, but is often used generically to refer to any talking board. Oh, she says, I mean a no to the Ouija board. Sherry did. That girl says, a spoon doesn't cause obesity. Just saying, any tool can be misused. I've seen bad things come out of boards and such, but not always. Okay, that's cool. And that's what I come down to. Like my very good friend, um, she uses the Ouija board a lot, and she has a gentle soul. She has the most prettiest soul in the world. And if I ever had to do a Ouija board thing, reading with her or would play, just do it, then I'd do it with her because I know she knows what she's doing. Absolutely, you definitely need. But what gets me now is that a lot of people will pick up that game that don't know what they're doing, probably be drunk when they're playing it, and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then all hell's going to break loose. And that's when they call the paranormal people to come in and try to take care of the business.
Yeah, they'll call in that spirit just because they want to be scared for the night or whatever, and they don't really know who they're talking to.
That's okay, Joe. I can't, don't worry about not doing it. Don't do it. Like I said, if I ever wanted to do the Ouija board with my friend, then I'd do it with her and her own. Mish says, friends and I made a board to contact two friends who passed. I ended up calling a priest and got a lecture. Oh, okay. I can understand that. But see, to me, CL, and just being around the negativity, the evils, the bad spirits. I hate saying everything is demonic because everything is not demonic. It's just one miserable, pissed off ghost that don't like life, and wants to
Right.
make life miserable for everybody else because they're miserable. But
You're exactly right.
yeah, and I've seen it all, and I've dealt with them all. It's a concern for me. Okay, and you cannot take that away from me, dear. You just cannot take that concern away from me. Like I said, I'm gonna have to fly out to
Well,
wherever
that's
you're
okay
at.
because I'm not one that sits around and does a Ouija board anyway. So
No, that's good. That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
yeah, I don't really use any definition tools at all, and that's what they are. They're tools.
Right.
People use them to help them. Like there's a lot of mediums who will use spirit cards or oracle decks to help them do a reading.
But someone taught me a long time ago when I really got into the mediumship and psychic stuff and that. That's the first thing that came out of their mouth was throw away those cards. You don't need them.
You
If
don't.
you're that good, you don't need those cards. You just come out and say what you want to say.
You're absolutely. It is. That's the same with anything in this field. You really don't need the candles. Any kind of spell work there's probably some people who practice witchcraft or Wicca or whatever it is that you practice. You don't need anything really. You don't need the candles. You don't. It's all about intention. So, and actually, even to contact your loved one, if you don't have any abilities at all, I really don't think you need a medium at all, to be honest with you. I really feel like if you sat down and did some prayer work on your own with intentions, you can contact with that loved one. And you'll get the signs that they're paying attention.
Joe Fox has a question for you. CL, if you don't mind me asking, what nationality are you?
I'm a hodgepodge of a lot of different things. So, yeah, it's a good question. So I'm actually Jewish. I have a lot of Jewish blood in me. I have Romanian in me, Egyptian. I did one of those blood work things a few years ago. So I'm kind of a hodgepodge of a lot of different things.
I'm 87% Irish.
You look like an Irish man.
Oh, thank you, dear. Thank you. I know. The sexy white beard Santa Claus. No, yeah, I'm 87% Irish, 12% Russian, believe it or not.
Mitch says Southern. No, I'm actually not Southern. I did live in the South though for 15 years, so that's where the Southern accent comes from a little bit.
But yeah, no, she's from Pittsburgh, Mish. We got her own. In fact, in 2 weeks from now, guys, we're going to do a Pittsburghese show. We are going to do one.
Chipped ham and cheese.
Yes, I'm pretty cranky being woken up too, and I'm not a spirit yet. I can't totally relate to spirits, not like being disturbed. Joe says you strike me as some type of Romanian descent. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
See, they hear the twang in your voice is what they do. I kind of hear the twang too. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen in the chat and all over the world who are listening to this show, she is a Pittsburgh girl through and through and through. Me and her can have a conversation and would lose you guys. You'd be like, what are they talking about? You know, in our
I
own
lived in
slang.
Pittsburgh until I was 16, and then I moved to Nashville, and I lived there for quite some time.
Yeah, well, there's your twang, you know. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, it is 9:04 p.m. and I got that little extra half hour going tonight. So we're going to take. Hey, Johnny McGillick, how are you, hon? Good to see you. Thank you for popping in. We're going to take another little about 2-3 minute break, and then we will do the final leg of Into the Night with me, your host, Sean Kelly, and my co-host, Miss C.L. Thomas. So here we go, guys. Let me grab a song here. We'll do this one.
Hi, I'm Brittany Ashley, your host of Breaking Norms Building Dreams, your guide through this transformative journey in both business and life. This is your place crafted for dreamers, doers, or anyone who has been told they can't. Get ready as we challenge those narratives together. You're tuning in live to the United Public Radio Network, airing on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We are streaming on all the popular platforms every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me for a candid and thought-provoking conversation celebrating your unique journey because you are worth it.
Welcome to Negotiating Happiness, the show that helps you find happiness, success, and balance in your work and life. I'm Adriana Fierster, your host for this journey into entrepreneurship and personal growth. We're broadcasting live on 107.7 and 105.3 FM in New Orleans as part of the United Public Radio Network. We explore the latest strategies, insights, and stories from successful entrepreneurs and experts. From managing stress to building a thriving business, we've got you covered.
Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast with host Kat Ward.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to the last half hour of Into the Night with me, your host, Sean Kelly, and my favorite co-host in the world, Miss C.L. Thomas. And her show is on Tuesday nights, 9:15 to 10:15 p.m. on UPRN Talk Radio. Her show comes on right after mine. Thank you, Vet Girl. Thank you, Heidi. Time does fly by a lot, Joe Fox. It really does. Maybe I can do a 4-hour show. That never happened. I don't think I did. I think the longest I ever did was a 3-hour show. But I want to thank UPRN Talk Radio for allowing me to give you an hour on Sunday on this channel to spread the love, share the love. This Tuesday, I don't have a topic yet. Maybe I'll just throw in, a previous one because I'm kind of like in a brain freeze right now. But I don't know yet. I'm in a brain freeze because it's like really hot here in Pittsburgh. But CL, what's going on? What else is going on with you? Can you explain some of your artwork that you do for people? So like if you gave me a reading right now, okay, without doing your artwork, what would you see? If you can do it.
Wait, what's that?
Without doing your artwork, okay, what would you see in me? Could you give me a reading?
Maybe. I don't know.
Can you give it a shot if you want to?
I could.
hell is that?
So I get like a girl,
Okay.
a young girl,
Okay.
maybe 15, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Mm, not so much a daughter, maybe someone you knew when you were younger.
Okay.
I'm not getting a name. It's more of like an accident of some sort.
Hmm. Okay. I always, uh, well, we could stop there, but that's okay. What I want to say is what I tell everybody: always trust your gut. Okay. Don't ever um, like contemplate. Am I saying the right thing? If I'm not saying the right thing, you know what I mean. Just go with what you got. It's like one big flow. You know, like one flow, one flow. You, she's the best. You ever want somebody to do a spiritual reading uh, with her artwork? You know, you can get contact information off of her. But I don't know. I feel that a big thing at being a medium, being a seer, or other people like to call them psychics, okay, and good ones, you really have to be humble. And when you do this kind of work, very humble, okay. Egos don't work. Now, I had an ego a long time ago, and that really threw me for a loop, or it wasn't good. But you have to have humbleness. You need to trust what you hear, smell, and see, you know, and never, ever, ever doubt yourself. Never doubt. Because once you doubt yourself, okay, you might as well throw it right out the door, you know, and say, can you come back and see me in a week? You know what I mean? But I mean, that's how it worked for me. You know, that's how, it, you know, never ask a question. Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you that. Never ask a question. If one of these readers asking you a question right off the top of the bat, walk away. And, you know, I'm asking friends that are readers, I'm asking people that are readers, never ask you a question. I would seriously walk off. Yes, I would. Because you'll be surprised what people can do um, if they ask you a question and you give them an answer.
Well,
And,
you start being led by the you'll start being led too much.
right. Now, I'm not knocking psychics. I'm not knocking mediums. It's their job. It's their, it's what they do for a living. I can't knock that. I'd love to connect to my parents. I know they are okay, but would love to hear some kind of validation. Hug. I'm sure when they are ready, I'll hear it. And that is so true, Mish. That is so true. When they're ready
The,
to communicate. And I know a
the,
lot of, yeah.
the other thing to it too is that it's kind of like what I did there. Like, I didn't lead you at all.
Right.
When a medium comes to you and says that they're right every single time, that's another red flag. Nobody's ever 100% right on anything with this.
True. And you know, you do have, because I did got a reading done, and this person was like way off base with me. And I'm like, no, but I paid her out of respect. You know what I mean? She did give me that reading, but I'm saying to myself, I'll never come back to you again. You know what I mean? And it's not saying that I'm good at what I do. I am good, but I don't broadcast it. My ego don't get in the way. It's very, very humbleness for me when I do the reading. But I'm not the type of person that will go out and say, okay, if you got $150, I'll give you a reading. That just doesn't work that way. Here's my theory. God, Spirit, Buddha, whoever you believe in, gave you the opportunity to help people through your empathic work, through your seer work, and not to charge money. I'm going to be honest with everybody out here, even with UCL. I could be making a shitload of money right now doing what I'm doing. I can. I'm not, you know what I mean? I can. And, but I won't do it because that's not what Spirit had my intentions of doing. Spirit had my intentions to help people.
And that's kind of what it's about. It's really not about the money side. And it's unfortunate that a lot of mediums today, it's become a thing, first of all. Like everyone has come out with mediumship, that they're a medium. And every single one of them wants to be the next Cindy Kaza on television. Why? Because it's making money and there's fame to it. Every single one of them is on there teaching classes that cost $300 or more. And at the end of the day, they're really not teaching you anything. I sat in on a couple of those classes before just to see, and they really don't go into how to be a medium or how to open yourself up. What they're doing is they're just going into what is a medium. What are the 5 clairs? They spend so much time on that instead of focusing on how to actually give a reading. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Now, the person who taught me or who was connected to me or taught me, I'll say taught me, was, she didn't even get into the mediumship stuff. She says, what I want you to do is I want you to learn how to meditate.
Yes, that's part of it.
Once you learn to meditate, and once you get the trust of your spirit guides, then we can work on you being a medium. But before you even think about doing a reading with somebody, she said, straight out, learn to meditate.
Learn your spirit language too.
Yes. Joni says, what if someone tells you that you are a medium? How do I tap into that? I'll give that one to CL.
Well, I think everybody is to some extent. So what you need to do is, if you are a medium or if you think you are, start practicing a little bit. Go to a park and just sit quietly and try to read people around you. See what you get. Take a journal, write it down. I know for me, it comes in flashes. Like I'll see pictures. So I try to write down as fast as I can what I do get because it comes fast. And different things will mean different things to you, like the color red. If you're seeing red, what does that mean? What's the spirit trying to tell you? What's that spirit language? There's a whole language to it. I remember I gave a reading for somebody one time, and I saw a stack of books. It was ridiculous, right? It was a stack of 4 books in front of this giant maple tree, and it was specific. The tree was maple, and I saw like birds. I saw a group of kids around the tree, and I felt ridiculous. So I sketched it out, what I saw, because it's very visual. And then I saw the lady, of course. I drew her real fast, and I presented it to the sitter. And I felt so stupid because I didn't know what any of these things meant, right? So it turned out that she was a school teacher. That's what all the kids in the picture were. There was a giant maple tree out in her front yard, and she loved that maple tree, and she would sit under it and read books. The 4 books was, she died on the 4th, and she was born on the 4th. It was like the month of May or something like that. And in the picture, there was like daffodils, and they would have come out in May. It was just very specific stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you said, trust your gut, that's the kind of stuff that I get in these readings, and it makes no sense to me. And I feel so stupid even saying this stuff. But when I have a sitter, and it's happened so many times where the sitter just starts crying because it's dead on. Some of
Right.
this that comes out.
Hmm.
So it's just trust in learning how to read what you're picking up.
Exactly. Like for me, when someone, like what happens to me is when someone says, well, can you give me a reading? And I will, right? But instead of um, faces, I pick up letters. Okay. And when I pick up a letter and then I say, well, do you know somebody that begins with the letter, we'll say B. Okay. And then I go from there. You know what I mean? Um, I see the letter B, and then they'll come back at me and say, well, yeah, this was my aunt. We'll just say my aunt. And then all of a sudden, for me, is that it took me a long time to trust, everything, to trust myself.
Mm-hmm.
And and it usually comes out good. You know what I mean? Uh, Heidi says sometimes I don't even understand why or what I'm talking about, but the other person knows exactly. True. I don't do readings, but when I was taking courses at Boulder Psychic, um, and Mish said I did a mediumship course, was impressed with myself. But see, you know, and the last thing I want to tell everybody, because we're getting close to that time there, it's getting close to 9:30. But I truly believe in my heart that even before you were born, okay, that whoever you believe in, and I will say God for me because I do believe in Him, He gave me extra abilities to do seer work, to do, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. He gave me extra. Everyone's born with a gift, okay, and He gave me a little bit more, and I truly believe that. I did die back in '83. And when I came back from that, I'll tell you my story one day. When I came back from 1983, when I came back from actually dying, I started to see things, hear things, and feel things that weren't there.
It's kind of like
And,
Nettie.
and and for me, I was told that it was a walk-in. I don't know if you ever heard of a walk-in before. A walk-in is whenever you die or have a tragic experience of some sort, your old soul leaves and the new one pops
Oh, okay.
in. Okay. Well, what was crazy about this was, and what I'm telling you, everybody, is I'm telling you the truth here. Okay, what was crazy when that happened, I was 21 years old when that happened, when I died. I had no recollection of my younger years. I didn't. I,
Wow.
yes, it was scary. I didn't have any recollection of me being in high school or playing football or anything I did when I was a teenager or even younger. You know what I mean? I forgot stuff that I did with my father, with my mom. I forgot all that stuff. But the only thing that I do um, remember when this first happened was like maybe a week after. Then you know what I mean? I forgot my past, and it was like I was reborn again to start my future.
Hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, but we're getting close. I don't know if this is. Can you hear that? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, but I hear something in the background. I think it's me doing. I don't know.
It's an
It's just
EVP.
yeah.
It's an EVP background. I think it's an
So now
incredible.
you recall, Sean? What do you mean, Kevin? So now you recall? Okay. He hears the voices. My Z Kev can do it, brother. I'd appreciate it. I have to send you a message, my friend Z, whenever he's in. If there's like an EVP or if everybody hears different, he's the one that goes back and checks it out. Um, uh, yeah, now I do. I had to look at books. I had to look and talk to people. I talked to my friends, um, and it slowly came around to where I do remember most of my past, but not all of it. Heidi says, "Yes, Sean. Inquiring minds would like to know." But no, I just it took a long time for me to recall, and with other people's helps.
How old were you?
21. I was in Diego Garcia. I was taking a drug called Anabuse. And what Anabuse does, it weans you off alcohol. If you drink alcohol, if you use any type of alcohol, it can kill you. So I had this Anabuse in my system for a year. And I was in a little island called Diego Garcia when I was in the Navy. And I got depressed one day and I drank a whole fifth of Jack Daniels. And I died. I died on the ship. And when I died, I didn't see the light, the pearly gates, none of that shit. I saw a lot of darkness. I saw a lot of black. I saw stuff I didn't want to see. And when I came back, I started to hear people, places, hear people and see people that weren't there. And boy, I tell you what, I went to every religion trying to find an answer and I couldn't get one. You know. And I couldn't tell the Navy because they would have put me in a funny form. And that's the truth. This says, what? Haven't heard that name. But it's, you know, and you know, I look back at it. Thank you, Miss. But you know what? I look back at it today. Was, I guess it was meant to happen. Do you know what I mean? It was meant to happen. It was written. Do you know?
Well, how did it change your life?
It changed my life by looking at dead people. Shit.
It had to do something more than that, though.
Oh,
Because
it did. You're gonna have to put me under in order to do that. I'm gonna have to do it. But no, it just changed my life completely. It did a lot. It changed my life a lot. And so I really believe that it happened for a reason. And I don't question anything no more. You know what I mean? So you get the last word, my friend.
I get the last part. How do you mean?
You get the last word in.
The last part of you?
No, the last word in before I
don't have the last word. I don't have a last word.
Sherry, I believe that. What's that? Hey, Donna. What was that, CL?
I don't have a last word.
Oh, you don't have a last word? Oh my God. What are you trying to do to me? What are you doing to me, CL? No. Tony says, I lived in Pennsylvania about 5 years ago, and I am sad that I never got the chance to meet you in person, Sean. One day you will.
Did you live in Pittsburgh too?
Joni did, yeah. Yeah, she's a Pittsburgh girl. But listen, everybody, thank you for tuning in tonight to the show. I hope everybody. Oh, yeah, that's a good question, Heidi. Who's coming up on your show this week, CL?
Oh, it's I forget his name. Oh, it's Joshua Sharpero on Crystal Skulls.
Joshua Shapiro on Crystal Skulls. That's her name. That's the guy. I heard about him, and he's very good. That's a good guest to have.
Yeah, I'm excited to have him on. I'm not sure that I think it's going to be ufology, Agent Alien stuff with the Crystal Skulls.
Mark Eddy says, not the governor. No, not the governor, buddy.
No, not the governor.
No. So if you want to hear about Crystal Skulls, come and watch CL show tomorrow, Tuesday night, 9:15 after mine. Okay, thank you, buddy. So thank you everybody for popping in tonight. It was a great show. I hope you learned a little bit from some of the stuff that we did talk about. And I'm just like, I'm melancholy right now. You know what I mean? I'm not that Sean, that happy, sexy Santa Sean Kelly. I'm very melancholy, but I guess it's okay to be that way. Everybody, Tuesday night, I don't know if I'm going to be on or not, but I'm going to have this show come hell or high water. It could be a live show or it could be one that I did in the past. So I don't know yet. But listen, thank you all for popping in. Children, if you can, please go to your parents, give them a hug and tell them that you love them. And parents, please go to your children, give them a hug and tell them that you love them. And if you have no parents and if you have no children, find somebody, give them a hug and tell them that you love them. Because those 3 words, I love you, go a long way. Thank you, CL, very much for being on. And we'll see you all Tuesday night.